As Sarah Mitchell exchanged her vows with James Whitmore, the guy who had won her heart when they were both little children, she stood under a canopy of flowering cherry trees on a bright day in the spring of 1943. Her heart was fluttering as she did so. The war was raging in other parts of the world, but in that secluded part of Vermont, love seemed to be unstoppable. Following a period of 6 weeks, James disappeared without a trace. Not a note, not a farewell. The only thing that was left on their nightstand was a picture of their wedding and an empty place on their bed. Sarah looked for all 82 years of her life. She combed through documents, hired investigators, and even faced James's stoic elder brother, who just shook his head and mumbled, "Some things are better left buried." She did all of these things. In spite of this, Sarah did not let go. Then, in the spring of 2025, destiny appeared and took action. During the process of cleaning out the attic of the ancient farmhouse that they had previously occupied, which was now groaning with age, much as she was, Sarah's arthritic fingers came into contact with a floorboard that had become loose. Located underneath it was a concealed chamber that had not been used for many years. As she went through the process of uncovering James' pocket watch, his dog tags from basic training, and a yellowed envelope that had been sealed with fading wax, dust began to whirl in the sunshine. Her chest tightened as she unfurled the letter that was contained therein. "My most cherished Sarah, if this is what you are reading, then I have been unsuccessful. A failure to return, a failure to explain, and a failure to uphold my commitment to spend the rest of my life with you. However, you should be aware that every single second that I have spent apart from you has been excruciating. Several months before to our wedding, I was recruited to participate in a secret operation known as Project Blackbird. They assured me that it would be easy to do. Some weeks, or even months, at most. But what I found out is that, my dear Sarah, there are certain truths that are too perilous to outlast the men who first discover them. It is being observed by the authorities. You will not be secure if they have any reason to think that you know anything. I was instructed to vanish. Not because I wanted to, but because loving you meant that I had to part ways with you. Coordinates are represented by the numbers below. We have a song called Stardust that is the key to deciphering the symbols. Discover the truth, but do not put your faith in anybody. My family is not included. I will always be yours, James." The hands of Sarah were shaking. The coordinates? Is it a cipher? Was James jogging the whole time he was out there? Alternately, had he been silenced? During this time, she became aware of something else, which was a faint postscript that had almost been obliterated by the passage of time. "P.S. If I do not return within 45 minutes, you should anticipate the worst. However, if you ever see a bluebird landing on the window, you should know that I am still battling." There was a flash of memory. Only the previous week, a bluebird had been sitting outside the window of her kitchen. Maybe that was a sign. Maybe that was a horrible twist of fate. After years of yearning, Sarah decided to seek the assistance of her sharp-witted great-grandson, who was also a historian who was proficient in technology. They were able to decipher the cipher together, which led to the discovery of coordinates that led to a military bunker that was abandoned deep inside the Adirondacks. What they discovered there would reveal a conspiracy that had been suppressed since World War II, a mysterious program that experimented with temporal displacement, a cover-up that spanned generations and a single file. That was labeled with the following horrifying information. Whitmore. J. Status. Missing in action. Not only had James gone, but he had vanished through the very fabric of time itself. And in such case, was he still out there wandering about, looking for a way to go back to her home? The journey to the Adirondacks was a whirlwind of twisting roads and pine trees that spoke to one another. With each mile that passed, Sarah's pulse was hammering fiercely as she clung to James's letter on her lap. With a frown on his face, her great-grandson Liam was tapping the locations into his GPS device while standing next to her. He said this location does not officially exist as he walked away. There are no maps or records, simply the woods. Sarah gazed out the window for a moment, very similar to James. When they arrived to the location, they saw that there was nothing but thick forest around them. However, as they made their way through the thick foliage, Liam's metal detector began to make a beeping sound. They discovered it buried behind layers of moss and rotting leaves. It was a corroded hatch that was close to being undetectable in the ground. When they attempted to pry it open, the hinges shrieked. From the depths of the darkness, a breath that was stale and metallic wafted up. The flashlight that Liam was using flashed down the ladder. What are your thoughts on this, Grand? The grasp that Sarah had on her cane became more firm. I have waited for answers for 2 years. Dusty radios, yellowed maps attached to walls, and a solitary desk covered with documents with the word "Top Secret." Printed on them were all elements that made the bunker seem like a time capsule from the 1940s. But the big machine that was located in the middle of the room was the thing that caused Sarah's blood to run cold. It had cables that were frayed and glass panels that were fractured, giving the impression that it was a twisted marriage between a telephone booth and a Tesla coil. Project Blackbird Temporal Displacement Unit was written on a label that had become illegible. It was a quiet whistle that Liam let out. "Okay, this is totally over my pay grade," the speaker said. Sarah came close to hearing him. Her attention was drawn to a ledger that was open and sitting on the desk. James P. Whitmore is the subject of this examination. Today is June 17, 1943. The goal is to conduct temporal reconnaissance. I did not return at this time. As she stroked the last line with her fingertips, "Not come back at all." Then, below that, in a hurried, handwritten fashion, it was written, "He has no escape. The gate is not stable. In the event that he does not re-enter the precise coordinates, he will get disoriented in the sea. May God save him." Sarah's thoughts were all over the place. Can he go across time? The task was not feasible. On the other hand, already Liam was thoroughly searching through yet another file. Grant, pay attention to this. Project Blackbird wasn't always about just propelling people ahead. The topic at hand was retrieval. From the future, they were attempting to bring troops back to the present. But the machine, it was flawed in some way. What is the problem? Sarah hushed her voice. This thing need a mooring. Something or someone who can help the traveler go back to their home. He glanced up, his eyes broadening. You were his rock, he said. Sarah's breath was taken away. She believed that James had abandoned her during all of those years. He had not, however. It had been a stipulation. After then, there was a sound that was so faint that it was practically inaudible. Tap, tap, and tap some more. There was a little vent that was corroded and shuddering from the corner of the bunker. The person's pulse quickened. Tap, tap, and tap some more. When Liam arrived, he hurried over and pried the vent cover away. Little chamber was hidden behind it, and within was a dusty bluebird figure with wings that had been damaged by the passage of time. The moment Sarah lifted it up, her hands began to shake. If you ever see a bluebird at the window, no, I'm still fighting. Her throat suddenly broke into a sob. He was present here. It had been left for her by him. And if he was remained outside, lost in the passage of time. She turned to Liam, her determination becoming stronger as she did so. We are going to bring him back home. The machine has stopped working. No buzzing of electricity, no twitch of the dials, nothing. Metal that is icy and nonverbal. Liam shook his head and ran his hands over the control panel all at the same time. Even if we were able to power this machine, the wiring is in a terrible state. Months would be required too. Sarah was not paying attention. She grasped a little notepad that was hidden under the keyboard with her fingers and closed them.
Out.
The handwriting of James, which was as known to her as her own pulse, jumped out of the pages. Day 127 of the stream continues. Though they are growing shorter, the leaps are becoming more erratic. Today, 1957, I went to see our home. In the garden, Sarah was present. Her attire was yellow. No matter how hard I hammered on the windows, she was unable to hear me. I am unable to pass through the field. The field by God will not. The entry came to a stop in the middle of a phrase. The paper was rubbed down by a black stain. Tears is it blood? Taking a deep breath, Liam exhaled sharply. I am referring to this schematic here. What the machine needs is more than simply electricity. It is in need of a biological stabilizer. An individual who possesses a temporal connection to the traveler. Both of their eyes met. It needs you. Over the course of the night, they labored. Due to his dogged determination and the use of automobile batteries, Liam was able to construct the power source. While Sarah sat in front of the machine, Jose's dog tags were wrapped around her neck, and her wrinkled hands were firmly placed on the activation button.
Oh.
Liam said, "You don't have to do this," and nodded his head. "We could call the authorities, get scientists, and let them bury the truth for another 80 years. The air in Sarah's voice was icy. It is not. It was ample time for James to wait. The switch was thrown by her. At the same time as the machine began to scream, arcs of blue lightning began to crackle over its surface. The atmosphere smelt like ozone and something older, like the time just before a rainstorm in 1943 may have been. The door was opened by Sarah. It was Liam's yelling that she heard for the very last time. After that, white, there is no sound. After that, a field of golden wheat, waving in the breeze against a sky that is a bruised purple. As Sarah tripped, her knees protested, and she was unable to use her cane. The flavor of the air seemed off. It was too dry and too electric. "Sarah?" The voice might be heard coming from anywhere and everywhere. The turn was sluggish for her. He was 10 feet away, and his face was haggard but recognizable. He was wearing a military outfit that was falling apart. It's James. Being older than he was when he departed, she was earlier than she was today. His eyes, God's eyes, were precisely the same as she had recalled them to be. He hushed, "You're real," as he spoke. She made an attempt to speak. That was heard was a mournful sob. Taking a trembling stride forward, James moved ahead. "I've been trying to get in touch with you for such a long time. Though I saw you a great number of times, the field did not let me to." A resounding crack shattered the atmosphere. Forebodingly, the sky became a dark purple color. "They're coming," James said in a hurried manner. "It is the wardens. When we decide to breach the rules, they are not happy about it." Sarah made a move to grab him. "Then let's go home." A moment of contact between their fingertips caused the universe to shatter. Sarah let out a cry as they fell to the bottom of the bunker, the machine exploding violently behind them. In spite of the fact that Liam screamed something, all she could see was James, who was real and substantial, clinging to her hands like a man who was drowning. It was then when the convulsions began. James felt a convulsion, and his skin began to flicker and become translucent, as if he was having trouble deciding which period he belonged to. Anchor failure. As he frantically searched for the controls, Liam yelled, "His timeline's unstable." Immediately, Sarah grasped the concept. Despite the fact that the machine had brought James ahead 8 or 2 years, his body still recognized the year 1943. The cosmos yearned for him to return. Aside from that, she placed her hand on James's chest, over his beating heart, and pushed it there. "Look at me," she demanded again. "Just look at me." His fleeting glance landed on hers and remained there. "You once told me that love was stronger than time," she replied with a forceful statement. "Prove it." And suddenly, whether it was due to scientific advancements or just obstinate love, the flickering ceased. A single trembling breath was drawn by James, also remained. "Garden," a concluding remark. The guys from the government arrived, as expected. The machine was taken by them. It was a solemn oath that they took. While James was sitting on the porch of their old farmhouse, which had been rebuilt, repainted, and was once more alive, he drew the lines on Sarah's face, as if he were trying to memorize a map. He whispered, "You waited," saying it. Sarah wore a grin. "You came back?" A genuine bluebird landed on the railing above them and flew the distance. It cocked its head to the side as if it were content. And then it took flight into a sky that no longer provided the same sense of emptiness.